This week, the guys break down every football story that matters. Offensive coordinators don't trust young quarterbacks. Cody Parkey is the best kicker in the world. And Michael Thomas will get 675 receiving yards. All that and more this week on Just Press Play.
The red wasp is excavating pregnant ladies and little kids better get the hell out of the way because I am running. I'm like Forrest Gump, dude. I am running. So the Titanic was the biggest ship on the ocean, but that didn't mean it was unsinkable. All right. Look, I want you each to use ombudsman in a sentence next week. I got one for you. My name is Kevin, the official ombudsman of the Just Press Play podcast. You like apples?
All right, here we are right ahead of divisional round. We got the JPP pod back, and we're back with Uncle Tony, Pops, and LJ. What's going on, guys?
Oh, what's up?
What's up? Good. Lovely, lovely, lovely in the neighborhood.
It was a great wild card weekend, and we're headed to a good division round. But real quick, let's start off. We just got done. We're recording this on Tuesday, so we're kind of fresh from last night's national championship game. And LJ's favorite quarterback of all time just obliterated that Alabama defense. I'm going to ask you, Pops, what were your thoughts from last night's domination?
Well, Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. I don't know if LJ likes the way he looks, but he's got to like the way the boy plays. And here was my main thought is Clemson manhandled Alabama.
Yeah.
They looked like the Alabama. They looked like what Alabama does to everyone else.
And weren't they missing their All-American or whatever defensive end?
Their D tackle, they're big guy. He was out with some substance
Those
abuse.
pesky
steroids, maybe not.
I mean, I think Alabama got their head down a little bit, and then
John Bones.
It was a beatdown though, and the score should have been. The score was not indicative as to how much of a blowout it was. Almost.
I mean, wasn't Clemson's last drive 10 minutes long?
Yeah, they just kept running the clock out. Alabama pulled their quarter. Tua got pulled out with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Tua doesn't even know what the fourth quarter looks like. He doesn't play him.
Did y'all see? Did y'all see there was a prop bet in Vegas for Tua over under pass yards was 295.5. They pulled him out with 295.
295.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
Poor guys. Tony, did you watch any of that game?
Yeah, I did. I watched it often. I watched the first quarter and then came back in at the third. And the thing that impressed me the most was the speed that Clemson possessed at those skill positions. I was just amazed. It wasn't necessarily that much that I thought they manhandled them. Because you could see in the first half, there wasn't a lot of difference in the total yards. But when I believe the stat I saw was Clemson had scored 37 points on 36 plays. That's a big play offense. And they attacked Alabama with speed. And I don't think Alabama had seen that this year. And hats off to Clemson. They left no doubt. No doubt. And Justin Ross may be the best college football player that I've seen in a while. And he's just a freshman.
Don't you just hate to see Alabama get torched by a former Alabama kid that went to Clemson? Yeah. I mean, I just hate it for him.
Did you hear?
That's our coach too, right? That's Dabo Swinney is a former Alabama kid that went to Clemson. That's just their
And
their
last
kryptonite.
thing I'll say, Kevin, let you get to LJ. The greatest quote I heard from last night is they asked Ross why he went to Clemson, and he said it was because of the stability in the coaching staff. And it wasn't the head coach, it was the position coach. Alabama, and they gave the stat that during the time frame that they were recruiting Ross, 20 different position coaches for Alabama, 3 for Clemson.
Yeah, they go in and out at Alabama, which it'll probably start happening to Clemson soon too if they keep winning. When you win, the coaches go. But I will say that I bet everybody in the SEC probably real quick, like all those defensive coordinators should have got Brent Venables on the phone, the Clemson DC, because he had Alabama looking lost. Tua was dominating the SEC all year, and then he gets into last night, and it looked like he had no idea where the blitz was coming from. He was throwing it straight to Clemson guys, and then you thought they would adjust at half, and it came out second half, same stuff. I mean, it was impressive, and I do think we watched Now we probably get ready to watch that game again because both those quarterbacks are coming back for another year, and I don't think they're going to lose any talent on defense. But you probably just watched 2 future number 1 overall picks at quarterback between Tua and Trevor Lawrence. And I bet NFL rosters, if you gave them the option today to draft Trevor Lawrence, if he could come out right now at 6'6", 220 with that arm, he'd probably go number 1 overall this year.
That's what I've heard. He'd go number 1 overall this year, but he's got to sit in college for 2 more years, which is like absurd to think about somebody that can just make that transition according to most scouts and will still have to sit there. And the only thing that I can think is I'm already a Trevor Lawrence hater. So how much longer does Tom Brady have? That's my question. Does he have about 2 years in him?
Well, that's what I heard someone say. Continue? Now's the time for, if you're an NFL scout, like some serious people were like, start trading for 2021 first round picks, just hoping that you get that number 1 because
I think there's a lot of quarterbacks that might get little extensions. Like an Eli Manning might get a couple years extension just to make sure they've got that question answered until they can open it up again. And
if the Giants want to stay around the number 1 pick area, just keep Eli Manning at quarterback for another couple of years. He always gives you a shot.
There might be a black and yellow opening here in about 3 years. You never know.
Yeah. There's damn sure an opening for the orange and blue. So
yeah.
Hey, I take that shot of Malort and move on. I'd be okay with that.
I'm just happy to know before we get on to the NFL that LJ is going to get to see his favorite quarterback of all time play for a long time, it looks like, because that guy, Trevor Lawrence, is here going to be in our lives for a little while.
Yep. Do you know the last true freshman to win a national championship game?
Well, Tua won one last year, but he didn't start it.
I guess, other than Tua, do you know?
Well, you're probably saying quarterback that started it.
This guy, he did start the game, but he came in for another quarterback that got hurt during the season.
No say.
I can't come up with anything.
Tony, you're going to kick yourself. Jamel Holloway came in for Troy Aikman at OU and went on to win the national championship that year. And he was so good, Troy Aikman transferred to UCLA.
Yeah. No,
true story.
I knew the stat. I'd heard him talk about it last night. So Jamel Holloway and
did you? I didn't hear him talk about that.
I heard
night.
it.
I found that on my own. I was so proud of myself.
Yeah,
did you guys hear? We mentioned it yesterday. I didn't tune into it. I'm sure you guys didn't either. But they had the analyst room on ESPN2 where the Monday Night Football crew were doing some stuff.
I thought about it.
And the first play of the game. Now I love me some Jason Witten as a player. He's going to be a future Cowboy Ring of Honor if they hadn't already put him in there. But the first play of the game in college, you can fair catch it anywhere, whether you're in the end zone or out of the end zone. And if you fair catch it on the kickoff, you get it at the 25. Well, the Clemson guy, if you remember, he fair caught it around like the 4-yard line. And Jason Witten on the first play is like, what's he doing? Why is he fair catching it? They're going to get the ball on the 4-yard line. He didn't even know the rules to the college game. And he's on national TV. It just, poor guy just got in over his head. I think he should have taken a year off. Then again, if Monday Night Football called me, asking me if I wanted to come work for him.
Yeah. Kevin, I think he is going to take a year off. I think he's going to take next year off. It probably won't be his decision, but
it'll be an old Michael Jordan sabbatical.
Like, do you remember when Dennis Miller was on Monday Night Football? It's going to be the same thing with Jason Witten. Hey, do you remember when Jason Witten was on?
Yeah. You remember that year?
Different vocabularies for those two.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, babe. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get over to the NFL playoffs now. And real quick, let's talk about if your team's out of it, if you're unfortunate, not a Cowboys fan, and you don't get to watch anymore, LJ, and you don't have anything to root for, then get in the action with MyBookie. There's no reason to sit there while your friends are rooting. You can have a little action in the game. And right now, if you join MyBookie and put in the promo code JPP, they will offer you 50% deposit bonus. So you can make sure that after these playoffs go, you get a nice little deposit, a little bankroll, because you probably lost in your fantasy football, like everyone you're listening to here. And
I ain't saying a damn thing.
So if
there's a first.
If you don't have anything to root for and you want to have a little bit in on the action, join MyBookie, put in the promo code JPP, and get you some money this offseason. But with that said, let's get right into it. And we'll just start off with the first game from last weekend. And it was the Colts. The score was not quite indicative of how close the game was. It was 21-14 was the final score, but it was a kind of like the championship last night. It was a little bit of a domination. I think it ended up being 21-14.
21-7.
21-7. They never got to 14. Well, let's go over to you, Pops, because clearly you're more educated on the game than I am. Didn't even have the final score. What did you think from the Colts beatdown of the Houston Texans?
I was really impressed with was Quentin Nelson. I mean, Quentin Nelson and that offensive line. And not only are they a hell of an offensive line, they kept Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt out. You know how many sacks that vaunted defensive line of the Texans had? 0. Nada.
Dude, I don't even know if they got a pressure on them.
I don't even know exactly. I was going to try to find pressures, and I couldn't find that stat. I needed Stats Lutheringer over there. But no, I was really impressed with Quentin Nelson, and they gave. By the way, that line gave up an NFL low of 18 sacks over the whole regular season. So
wow,
and I'm telling you, Andrew Luck, give that guy a little time, and then Mac started showing out. But Luck is as good as ever. Good as ever.
That's the note I have written down. Was my main thing was Colts offensive line, and if you look at how we saw this is how the Cowboys rebuilt their team, and if you're an NFL GM out there, you got to start on the O lines, and that's what the Colts did with Quentin Nelson. They took in the first round last year, as you mentioned, just a straight beast. There's one block where it was going around on Twitter where he just absolutely pancaked Jadeveon Clowney, and Clowney's not a small man. That's a big guy. And then they got Braden Smith, who they took in the second round, and then former first rounders Anthony Constanzo at tackle and Ryan Kelly at center. So they went and put draft capital up front to protect Andrew Luck, and it's paying off. What'd you think about that game, Tony?
Well, I hate to pile on here, but yeah, it's the tale of two offensive lines. Houston has allowed 65 plus sacks this year of Deshaun Watson. It's amazing that he stayed in one piece all year. Luckily, he can run because he had to. But then Luck, I think it's an NFL low number of sacks and got nothing. Didn't even get. I don't know that they knew what kind of cologne Andrew Luck was wearing. They were so far away from him. And but I have not been a Houston Texans fans all year long. It's been tough for me to watch them win. They got on a roll. How they were favored for that, the Colts are on a roll. And right now, unless somebody figures out how to slow down that offensive line with stunts or something, they face just about everybody and they've beat them.
What'd you think, LJ?
I mean, not much that hadn't already been said. That was a pretty straightforward game with one team just being better than the other, just all around. So,
a couple of things I saw, Kevin, though, is they started 1-5 and then won 10 of their next 11. I mean, and I guess
think there was someone on our podcast that bought him at 1-5.
Yep.
Oh, who could that be? Yeah.
No,
I bet it's the ombudsman.
The ombudsman.
He can only really do a couple things right, but he does them really right.
You saw a few things. I don't know if y'all watched any of the countdown stuff before, but there was a lot of talk about how Andrew Luck, after that shoulder injury that ended up sidelining him all year last year, where he was really questioning if he still loved the game and if he wanted to come back or not. And I think maybe Frank Reich and Chris Ballard, the GM over at the Colts, went up to Andrew Luck. He's like, well, what if you never get touched at all? Like, we won't let anyone touch you. And he was like, yeah, that sounds pretty nice. And it's looked good. And the future for the Colts looks pretty good. Obviously, as we've all mentioned, there's a good offensive line with some young guys up front. And then Luck's not that old. I mean, you got a franchise quarterback that's probably around, especially if he's not getting hit for a while. And then we didn't even mention that Darius Leonard at linebacker, all-pro rookie linebacker, and then Malik Hooker. Yep. There's some talent on the Colts roster.
There's some talent.
They're a little scared moving forward. Like Tony said, they're hot, and they've won a lot. And now they go at Arrowhead to go take on the Chiefs, where it looks like as of yesterday, the line was the Chiefs were favored by 5.5. So I want to toss it over to Tony to start out because I know he's a resident, watches a little Patrick Mahomes. So what do you think? Do you think the Chiefs are the big favorites, or do you like the Colts kind of going in there?
The Chiefs are the big favorites. There's no doubt about that. However, and Prestige Worldwide, I'm sure will be listening to this podcast and probably not going to like what I've got to say, but as good as Patrick Mahomes is, as much of a generational talent he is, he's got to learn that lesson of how to play in the playoffs. And you saw that this past weekend, quarterbacks who'd had a very, very good year. First time,
every quarterback that was making their playoff debut
lost. And so I'm a little concerned about Mahomes being able to sustain enough of an offense against the Colts because they're really playing great D right now, situational D. So Sagarin ratings has it that the Chiefs should win by 2.5, 2 3/4. Then you put on the home field advantage. So I want to. My heart says the Chiefs, but my head says I think the Colts go in there and win a 30-something to 30-something shootout.
Arrowhead is a tough place to play. I don't know if I'd be willing to lay out 5.5 on the Chiefs, but that game intrigues me. What do you think, Pops?
Well, I mean, I'm a little worried about it, kind of like Tony is. I think Indianapolis defense, you've got the great offense against a pretty good defense, and then you've got a pretty good offense against no defense.
A shit defense.
So, really.
Who's going to get a sack on that team?
So, I mean, there's going to be some points scored. The over-under, I did write some of that down. It's just 57 points. I
57
think I would,
right now, yeah. I would
57, yeah. I'd go over for sure. I tell you what, I like Indy getting 6 points, where it's 5.5. When I looked, it was 6. I take Indy to cover, and I don't know. It's a hard game to call. I'm interested to see it.
I think you're on to something. I think when you go down to it, the quarterbacks, sure, you probably take Mahomes after the year he's had, but it's not just a crazy – Luck's a good quarterback, and then there's some skill players on that offense, and then you just look at the defense of both teams. The Colts, I mean, maybe not the Bears' defense over there, but they're adequate, and the Chiefs, there's no defense. So that's what scares me. LJ, what do you think? Are you thinking the Chiefs, or –
Oh, I'm definitely thinking the Colts. I'm not even really that concerned with what the line is. I think the Colts are just going to win it. I've seen the Chiefs struggle in the past 5 weeks when they were playing, except for against the Raiders, who were phoning it in because they could only really beat the Broncos. So, I mean, I just don't.
If I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm definitely nervous heading into Saturday.
Yeah. I would have rather had. Who would they have had? The Texans. I would have rather had the Texans. If I was
to me, here's the key, and
they would.
And I hope I get this guy's name right because I have had a vodka or 3. So Justin Houston is healthy for
and D Ford.
He is healthy for the Chiefs now, and it's been off and on. And I'm not sure what Eric Berry's status is going to be. He could shut down the middle of the field for the Chiefs, but if Justin Houston has 1 sack, if Justin Houston has 2 sacks, the Chiefs win, and he's the kind of talent that can probably do that. And so if he gets the 2,
Joey Bosa
don't get me started. We'll get on to that.
We're gonna get on Bosa here in a little
maybe
bit.
Melvin Ingram but I don't know about Bosa, but. I think Justin Houston is the key there. He's that player that we don't talk about him a lot. He's the kind of guy that makes this game for the Chiefs. If he gets those sacks, I think the Chiefs win.
I think that's an excellent point. I think you're right. He can make a difference.
Well, and that's the one thing people haven't been able to do
by himself.
There's one thing. No one's been able to get pressure on Luck. So if they can get pressure on Luck, then that flips the script. So I would still say I would think the Chiefs would win, but it's close. But that takes us into the next game on Saturday night, and that was the Cowboys beating the Seahawks. I have this score right, 24-22, because the Cowboys that were able to. If you had Cowboys 2.5, you were pissed that they didn't just kick extra points earlier. But what'd you think about the Cowboys beating the Seahawks, Dad?
I was shocked. I didn't think the Cowboys – I'd picked the Seahawks to win that game. I was impressed with the fact that Seattle either couldn't or just they weren't able to contain Ezekiel Elliott. I thought Dak Prescott played a pretty good game. His runs, his opportunistic running –
especially that one on 3rd and 14, whatever it was.
I mean, I think he rushed for only 29 yards, but they were
big 29, weren't they?
Huge. Yeah, they were huge. And then I know the other thing, and I think I texted you, Kevin, Cole Beasley, who I do think is an important cog in that offense underneath, was obviously limping, kind of had a little issue. and they still had him back every now and then returning punts when Tavon Austin was killing it.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. I know
that at all.
I think one of them, he was just back there to fair catch. And so maybe they think he's got the sure hands, but I just thought that was asinine. And then there was some clock management issues. That's, of course, not unusual with the Cowboys. I was glad to see them get a win. They could beat LA. We'll get into that in a minute. They could beat LA, but I'm not going to put any money on them.
LJ, did you have any thoughts from that game?
Well, I mean, on one hand, I just wanted to say that, like, as the kind of resident Cowboy hater on the podcast, I really have been rooting for him, and it's kind of good to see him, actually make a run. And it's kind of, I'll get to hate on him for a long time because Garrett's going to get that extension.
It looks like Garrett and Dak Prescott are cashing checks right now. Each win's just a bigger check.
Taking out big loans because they're going to be able to pay him off. But one thing that I feel like I did notice about him is they felt like one of the more complete team. Like, they felt like a good playoff team to me. They have a defense that can really play when they want to. And they've got a running back that's just generally the most athletic person on the field. So, I'm afraid of that team this late in the season. That's tough to play against. So,
Tony,
that's my thoughts.
What's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm shocked that Lifford would say anything against Jason Garrett, because this guy is the greatest coach Cowboy history. That's my story. I'm sticking.
Is Tony a fan or not?
That's my story. I'm sticking to it. So here's what I think happened in that game. Seriously though, I think Dallas has shown that they have a lot of improvement, and they are a balanced football team right now. But the biggest thing for me in that game, and it showed in two different things. One, the first big thing is the youth of Seattle's cornerbacks. They've been able to overcome that over the last few games, but you saw them exposed by the Cowboys. First, Elliott got most of his big yards on outside runs. He was able to make the corner, and they sealed those cornerbacks, and he was able to get to the sideline, was picking up 20, 30-yard chunks several times. That really hurt the Seahawks. The second thing is in pass coverage, Amari Cooper was finding that soft zone in the back where he got behind that cornerback, and before the safety could get over, they had a couple of really big plays where he was just sitting in that spot. And, hey, that's what Amari Cooper does. And he's, as I've said, I don't think he was worth the first rounder because he's not that athletic wide receiver. But, boy, he sure was smart Saturday night and found those holes in the zone. And Dak hit him. He sure enough hit him. And the final thing was, I think that was the dagger for the Seahawks, and this is just a great break for the Cowboys, is that they got the two pass interferences in a row on third down. The Seahawks had the Cowboys stopped at midfield and then again at the 40, and they got two critical pass interference calls in their favor. The first one I thought was a little bit sketchy because the linebacker was the running back or the wide receiver coming across the middle. They hadn't been calling it all game long. They'd been letting them play. It was a good, well officiated playoff game. They called that pass interference, gave the Cowboys first down, and then the killer was the cornerback couldn't keep up. They ran a great route on the side. I think it was with Gallup, and he grabbed him and pulled him. It was definitely pass interference. But that cornerback cost the Seahawks the game right there. And so those two cornerbacks. Now, if I'm betting on props, I think the Seahawks are going to be a great team next year. But that was the deal right there.
Right. And I do want another break that really went the Cowboys' way is Janikowski not playing. That game's very different with the kicker at the end of that one, I think. So
yeah, that 100%. And it did. Did that not? I hate to laugh at an injury, but that injury specifically, it looked, and I've talked about how Janikowski looks like a guy that would be like an all-star in like slow pitch softball. But that looked just like a dad trying to show his son, like a little out of his prime dad, like, here's how you do it, son. And didn't warm up or stretch, and then just, you could tell right when he did it. I was like, boy.
It was bad.
Sebastian, hold my beer, Janikowski.
That's
Well, God, and then it led to maybe the worst onside kick attempt I've ever seen in my
guys,
life.
I gotta tell you, y'all,
that game's very different with a kicker.
Michael Dixon's good at banging kicks. He's not good at that finesse kicks.
As much as the love affair Kevin has with that Australian kicker, holy cow, was that bad? That was just not good. And I thought it was funny that the announcers, and I can't remember who the crew was on that. Was that Al Michaels? That was
Troy Aikman and Joe Buck.
Joe Buck literally, he said, during the week, they have practiced onside kicks with both Michael Dixon and Sebastian Janikowski, so they should be prepared for this.
It didn't look like it.
Yeah, I don't know what. And did you see Pete Carroll's face after he kicked it? It was like he's like he was speechless, like.
Well, I think they asked, or Troy Aikman afterward was like, well, that was probably the easiest onside recovery you could ever ask for. He just kicked it right to him. The guy was like, okay, caught it.
The guy had enough time to call a fair catch. Of course, Witten would have said, don't do that.
And I teased this on our last pod, but Dak, and as LJ mentioned, I do think he's already got the extension's coming. I think each win now, he's putting dollar signs on top of his extension. He's just cashing bigger checks. But since Dak entered the league in 2016, the last 3 years among active quarterbacks, he now has the most game-winning drives of any quarterback in the NFL, which is something I don't think you would expect. Dak has 14. Drew Brees has 13, Stafford has 13, Derek Carr has 11, Russell Wilson 9, and then Tony's favorite, Ben Roethlisberger, he was at 8.
Case
Keenum wasn't on my list. Then I will say Aaron Rodgers has 7, but he also has missed a ton of games, and Tom Brady has 5, but he also the Patriots are winning in a lot of games, so they're not having to put on game-winning drives.
Right.
But I think what really – on to quarterbacks, what really this game started, what led to most of the weekend for me was offensive coordinators not trusting their quarterbacks. And Seattle's, to me, was the biggest one I didn't understand. I understand maybe a little bit on Mitch Trubisky and Lamar Jackson because they're young, but you have Russell freaking Wilson. The best quarterback on the field was definitely him. And it didn't make sense to me. Of the Seahawks 12 drives, 4 of them were 3 and outs, where Brian Schottenheimer called 2 runs and then a pass on 3rd and long. Like, you're just playing right into the hands of the Cowboys defense, who, by the way, is good at stopping the run. If there's one weakness, I think it might be on the back end with Jeff Heath back there.
They did amount,
and then they pointed out
that Seattle has the most 3 and outs of any team in the league, which surprises me for as well as they run the football. But they have the most 3 and out drives of any team in the league.
And, Bill Barnwell, who writes for ESPN, he puts a lot of good stuff out. And on Twitter, he pointed out that Russell Wilson in the game was 10 for 11 on play-action plays with 114 yards. So why the hell are you running the ball every time on 1st and 2nd? Because you're not running a play-action on 3rd and long because everyone knows you're passing. I just didn't understand it. You have a stud back there, and you saw as soon as the game got a little out of hand and they just started letting Russell Wilson air it out. We didn't know. The Cowboys let Tyler Lockett get open deep. I don't understand how that.
You can't see him.
There's one thing you need to do: don't get beat deep.
He's a little guy. He runs around.
But it just got me.
Oh my
God! but Kevin, that's a great point because I mean, there are 2 teams that seem to be a little bit of a mirror image of each other, and the difference is at quarterback. The difference is Russell Wilson. And so why did you that run, pass, punt,
It's like they're making – it's like so the Cowboys are wanting to make the Seahawks play with the hand tied behind their back, and the Seahawks did it for him. Schottenheimer made Russell Wilson play with the hand behind his back.
Ridiculous.
I didn't understand that at all. And then it got me thinking, why in the hell is Brian Schottenheimer still getting jobs? I feel like he's been a disappointment everywhere he's been. I went and looked at his tenure. He was at he was the Chargers quarterback coach on the worst years of Brees' Hall of Fame career. Brees only got better when he left. He did get Sean Payton, so that helps. Then Brian Schottenheimer had the Mark Sanchez-led Jets, where I don't think anyone called that offense great. He was also the offensive coordinator at the Jeff Fisher-led Rams, who I don't know if you remember that offense. They got better as soon as Schottenheimer left. And then last year, he was the quarterback coach for the Colts, who were ranked 30th in offense, and they got better as soon as he left. I don't understand why this
they
guy
got
keeps
Andrew
getting
Luck
jobs.
too, but
Well, I just don't understand why
fair
Schottenheimer keeps getting jobs.
Yeah.
He's been disappointing everywhere he's gone. And then what he do in the playoffs? He has the best quarterback on the field and decides that he doesn't want to use them.
not to put the ball in his hands. Well, and to be fair, your examples were nailed, but except they did get Andrew Luck back at that.
I get that one. Okay, you did get a little bit from. They did upgrade from Jacoby Brissett.
Yes.
But so now let's head on to next week. And now the Cowboys are going to go play at the Rams in Los Angeles. Right now, as of yesterday, it might have changed. The line might have moved, but it was Rams by 7. I'll go to you, LJ. Do you think the Cowboys have a good shot there, or are the Rams the overwhelming favorite? What do you think?
I mean, I think that number's a little big, but I do think that the Rams pull this one out. But the one thing that I take away from looking forward to this week is I can't wait to see whether or not your prediction from week 2 that Dak Prescott's better than Jared Goff comes true or not. So
I still think
that's
he is.
what I'm looking forward to. That'll play on repeat next week. We just won't even have an episode if the Cowboys win. We'll just play that.
Well, we'll play that also with, as Tony brought up earlier in the year, how Jerry Jones sees a lot of Sean McVay and the Rams in the Cowboys. Isn't that right, Tony? So what do you think? The Cowboys got a good shot, or the Rams, especially with that line?
Man, I really like the Rams in this game, and here's why. And I don't know if 7 is a big number in the playoffs. We saw that last weekend. For a home team, 7 is a big number to cover because the guys coming in, they don't have anything to lose. But the Rams are a balanced offensive team. One, they've got 3 quality wide receivers, and that's without Cooper Kupp. So Cooks, Woods, and Josh Reynolds have all 3 proven that they can be game breakers, big time receivers. And Todd Gurley, if he's healthy, man, he's the best back in the league. The only guy out there probably better than Ezekiel Elliott as an all around football player, because he can catch it, he can run it, he can bang it in the tackles, he can make it on the outside. The guy is he's the guy right now, I think, at running back. And so they are really, really balanced. Add to that, C.J. Anderson now has 2 weeks under
big
his belt.
C.J. Anderson. I don't know what his diet's been, but that man's gotten big since his Denver days.
Yeah. There's a lot of Carolina barbecue in him, man. I tell you.
He had some Bojangles.
Yeah, you get 5 to 8 carries out of C.J. Anderson, and then you add 15 for Gurley, and then another 6 or 7 catches for Gurley, and we haven't even talked about Jared Goff yet. So, like I said, the Cowboys don't have that much of a pass rush. If Jared Goff gets to sit and go to a second read, not that he goes a lot to his second read, but if he gets to go to his second read, I think the Rams are going to be tough to beat, and the Rams have a much better defense than Seattle does. The Aaron Donald Player of the Year.
Yeah, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the middle.
Probably. So only unanimous All-Pro, I think. So at defensive tackle. So
back-to-back years of unanimous All-Pro.
He's very good. He's very good.
They are a much better defensive team. So,
and as we talked about,
the Rams really got the shot.
And McVay, who we know is an offensive guru, he's going up against a good Cowboys defense, but he's had a couple weeks now to kind of watch film. I'm sure he's watching film on both, but still he's getting some extra time. Dad, what do you think about that Cowboys-Rams matchup in L.A.?
Well, I can tell you that I don't think Sean McVay will not allow Jared Goff to pass. They will pass the ball downfield. He'll trust him to pass the ball downfield, and that's our weakness. The we police should be on me now. But that's Dallas's weakness. It's not up front, and so they're going to pass on us. They've got Aaron Donald, who's going to put pressure on Dak. I want the Cowboys to win. I'd love it. It'll be a miracle if they do. I think 7's high, but I would probably take the Rams and give the points. I think they're going to be. I think they're a better team, better coached, better team.
I do think you're right. McVay's he's going to allow Goff. He's not going to handcuff Goff. He's going to trust him to make the plays. But if you're the Cowboys, I think that's what you want. If you're going to get beat by Goff, not Gurley, because as Tony mentioned, Gurley is a stud. And I think if we've seen the key to stopping the Rams is you at least got to bottle up Gurley, because if Gurley's going, then it's over. I mean, it is over if they got to play action.
But Goff can beat you.
Well, I mean, the Bears proved that he might not be able to. So, I'm just saying.
Well, that's what
you take Gurley out of the game. That offense doesn't have two of its cylinders. That's
what I wanted to bring up.
I don't think
LJ,
the Cowboys can shut them like the Bears did.
When can you name the last time the Rams have beaten a good team? Because I started to look at their schedule. It's been a while since they've beaten a good team.
Well, I mean, that's why I think 7's a pretty huge number, because I think the Rams had some flaws shown, and Jared Goff is a young quarterback still, and that shows a little bit in his decision making. And I'm not saying that the Rams are a bad team, but I'm just saying that they haven't proven to me that they're as good as their record is in a long time. So
I think the Bears showed a little bit of a chink in that armor, like LJ mentioned. Mm-hmm. And since November 19th was when the Rams beat the Chiefs in LJ's favorite game ever, in that Monday night football game, that was a great game to watch.
But Trevor Lawrence of football games.
Since then, I think they've gone 3-3 or 3-2, and they haven't beaten a playoff team. Their 3 wins are against the 49ers, Cardinals, and Lions. So it's I don't think they're the team we thought they were at 9-1 or whatever, when they looked like the best in the maybe NFL. Yeah. And I'm not saying they're bad at all. I just think this game is. If you would have told me 5-6 weeks ago, Cowboys Rams in the playoffs, I'd have said Rams by a million, and now I just think it's a game. And LA doesn't have a huge, as far as home field advantage. It's not like going to Arrowhead or New England or somewhere where
they play in Mexico City.
You're playing where there's you're playing. Cowboys actually have a good fan base out in the West Coast, so I think it'll be. I don't think the home field advantage is as crazy.
They've got an awful fan base everywhere. Let's be clear.
And by the way, Cowboys fans, if you're listening to this, if you're trying to buy some tickets, I'd like to take a second to tell you about our new friends over from TixBlitz.com. They are the official ticket provider of the JPP pod. And unlike other ticket providers, they don't sneak in those little extra fees and unexplained service charges. At TixBlitz, the price you see is the price you pay. So if you want to get to the game, or if you're looking for a concert or really any show, they do Broadway shows, they do it all. Just go to TixBlitz.com. That is TixBlitz.com, and enter the promo code armchair, and you'll get 5% off your total ticket purchase. So,
I'm looking. I could pay $1,200 for Hamilton tickets. Look at that.
And 5% is $1,200. Now we're talking about some savings.
That's a big savings.
I gotta get me some Elton John tickets. Can I get Elton John tickets on
any tickets you want? If you're looking for some tickets, hit up TixBlitz.com. It's guaranteed seats, guaranteed emotions. So,
hey, is it too late to go to Buble? I can go to Buble on.
I can look that up for you right now.
Would you go see Michael Bublé, Tony?
If I got my tickets through TixBlitz, I would.
I'm not sure if you gave me tickets, I'd go see him. I mean, he's okay.
Michael Bublé's talented. Come on. Well, this isn't the music podcast.
I'm not hating on him. I'm just saying I don't think I'd go. He's good. I respect it. I just don't think I'd go.
Well, we still got a couple games to get to for this week.
I do not have a retort to that.
Let's go straight into the next days on Sunday's games, and we'll talk about the Chargers beating the Ravens. And speaking of, I think I mentioned that the Seahawks started the trend of not trusting your quarterbacks, and Harbaugh and the Ravens just kept that trend going, where they didn't let I think it was Lamar Jackson had attempted 9 throws when he got the ball with like 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He had only attempted 9 at that point. Now, Lamar wasn't great. Don't get me wrong, but at some point, I think you got to start realizing, the Chargers just saw us 2 weeks ago. This scheme's not surprising them. They've got us figured out. Let's try to throw it downfield. And all of a sudden, when you're down 23-3, it started working for them, and they almost got back in that game. I'll toss it over to you, LJ, first. What were your thoughts on some of that game?
I think this was the game that I was most excited about coming into this week.
Me too.
I felt like this was going to be the best game, and it wasn't a great game. I mean, it got close at the end, but it was not terribly fun to watch. It was
tough to watch, really. It was
tough. It didn't feel like good defense either. It felt like just kind of rough play. Like it just didn't feel clean to me. So
it really showed. I think what you saw was the Ravens in this Lamar Jackson run. It was a good run, but it was a lot of, and we've talked about it. It's different. You don't see this week to week. It's like playing almost like when you go play the triple option in college football when you don't play Georgia Tech every week. So every now and then that kind of can surprise you. But the Chargers just played the Ravens, and I think they watch some film. And it was interesting. Adam Schefter pointed out that the Chargers used 7 defensive backs on 58 of their 59 defensive snaps on Sunday, which per NFL Next Gen Stats, that was only used by every other team. Only 7 defensive backs was used 50 times in all of the regular season.
Wow.
So people aren't doing that. And the Chargers, and they did that. And it was a lot like they were swapping their safeties for linebackers. So they were getting speed to try to stop that horizontal run game where you get out on the edges, which was it's interesting. It's a lot like back in the day playing NCAA when teams would when people would try to use speed, like those fast guys on the outside. You just go in like a 4-2-5 and put a bunch of defensive backs out there and put speed. And if you're the Ravens, at some point, you got to think they're stuffing us. We got to figure out a way to score. And they just kept running. There was a lot of people talking about maybe putting in Joe Flacco at some point in that game. What did you think about Harbaugh's decisions in that game, Dad?
Well, I thought he probably should have put in Flacco. I really do, just to try something else. Nothing was going right for him. They sacked, Lamar Jackson had 7 sacks. He was sacked 7 times. And I also read something that said that the Chargers knew the plays. For instance, and I know they study tape, but I thought this was interesting. They could read the Baltimore left tackle Ronnie Stanley's feet. If his feet were even, they knew it was a run play. If his left foot was back, they knew it was a pass, because he's going to have to backpedal. And that worked, I think, all but one time, they said. So, I mean, their offense was so predictable, and they had to dumb it down for Lamar Jackson. And that just when you see it's not working, put Flacco in. Try something different.
Either that or let Jackson start throwing. I mean, clearly through that first half.
Turn him loose. Yeah, turn him loose.
Whatever they were doing in the first half was not working. Like you said, clearly the Chargers had a read on it, and it wasn't working. And they came out.
But don't you think Lamar Jackson looked scared? Lamar Jackson looked. He was scared over his head. He was over his head, and I'm surprised he came back at all.
What about that throw in the fourth quarter where they started letting him run around? He made that throw to Dixon, who looked like he was running with a big heavy backpack. I don't know how he got caught by a linebacker on that throw.
Kenneth Dixon's a big boy. So,
what'd you think, Tony?
Lamar Jackson knew what flavor bubble gum Melvin Ingram was chewing. I mean, because Melvin had him
Melvin
down
Ingram caused some trouble in that game.
Yeah. So here's the thing. First of all, I really disagree with LJ on this one. I really enjoyed this game. This was a throwback football game because what happened is you saw defenses. When it started, the Chargers would get a couple first downs, establish field position. Baltimore couldn't move. They kept getting good field position. So it was a true, honest, we're trying to get into scoring position game. They were playing football. And I thought, for me, watching that, I thought it was great. Not a lot of penalties, but it was really, I thought that was good field position football. One, so I liked it. And that both the defenses were hitting.
Fair enough.
Two, I was with Lifford all the way on Flacco until I started thinking about it. And, what was Flacco going to do? If they're sacking probably the fastest quarterback in the league to Lamar Jackson, Flacco's going to be a pancake. How is Flacco going to get out of the pocket? Now, I didn't think about it until later, but again, play action and let him throw the ball deep. That's the one thing they weren't able to do is establish a deep ball against the Chargers. And I think that was a problem. So, but I really liked it. And we have a new hero in the league, the Money Badger, Michael Badgley, 5 field goals, what it was. The Money Badger. You got to love him. Kid comes in the middle of the year. He's missed 1 field goal. Chicago wishes they'd signed him.
The one thing the Chargers could never do was kick field goals, and now they got a kicker.
They got a kicker. The Money Badger, man. I heard that on some other place. It's a Money Badger. We got to get him. But I will. Last thing. And we'll talk about the Chargers probably this weekend in a second. The Chargers are known for this, and they have got to fix this. Man, they had Baltimore by the throat, and they let them get back into the ball game. They are notorious for letting people back into the ball game. They have got to stop that if they're going to win this weekend.
And there's a guy, and you're right. We'll get to it. There's a guy on the other end they're playing this week who you better put him out.
He's pretty good at it.
Keep going.
He's pretty good at it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I wanted to touch on that Flacco Lamar Jackson, the only reason I say there's no way you put Flacco in is because what are the positives? At least with Jackson, you get some learning. Like he learned the playoffs are tough, and he even had some resilience by almost bringing him back a little bit, and the team buys into him. If you bench him, you maybe ruin his confidence. And now, what's the best case scenario? Flacco plays decent, and they either almost win. And now, do you cut him? Do you have to pay him that $25 million with Jackson as your backup? I think they're ready to move on from quarterbacks, and you made that decision when you put Jackson in and stuck with him, and you don't waver on it now.
I mean, I hear you. I got to disagree with you because, I mean, how many times do you get an opportunity to go to a Super Bowl? I mean, I think you pull out all the stops.
But does Flacco win it? If Lamar Jackson can't get away from Melvin Ingram, like Tony said, then Joe Flacco's a statue.
I know, and I wanted to say this then. Lamar Jackson, if he would have taken 3 steps and the ball's out, he might have been okay, but he never did that. He'd take 3 steps. First read's covered. He doesn't have time to go to the second read. I mean, he was holding the ball, y'all. Yeah. It wasn't like he was getting rid of it quick. Flacco could have been 3 steps, balls out, and something has to happen. And Lamar could not. He was not at an intellectual place with the game, or the game was so fast for him that he couldn't pull the trigger quick enough. And I get what you're saying about his confidence, but I'm just. Man, you don't get a chance. Ask Dan Marino. You don't get a chance to get to the Super Bowl very often.
Yeah.
If you ever get in the playoffs, you pull everything out of your ass you can to make it, because you never know when you'll get an opportunity like that again. That's just the way I feel.
And
you even play when you got sensitive nipples, man. You go.
I mean, if you got sensitive nipples,
got to go.
you get out there and you play damn football. That's right.
Got to go.
Good Lord.
I want to give Joe Flacco a little bit of credit. They tried after the game. They were trying to bait him into saying something about how he should have got in, and he just stood with his guys and he just took it, and he was like, Jackson played good. I think Lamar should have stuck in there, and he was I thought that was a big thing of him, because he easily could have came out and been like, well, they shouldn't have benched me, clearly, blah, 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 and at least thrown like some subtle shots out there. And he just was like, whatever, we lost. He was a very team guy, and I think he'll be a starting quarterback somewhere.
Next year. So
he's gonna make a big check.
He's gonna be in Tampa Bay after Jameis Winston goes down, because Dirk, whoever they pick down there. But here's the thing,
Bruce Arians.
Yeah, Bruce Arians, he loves that guy. The funniest thing of the whole game, in that fourth quarter, they kept cutting to Joe Flacco on the sidelines, and Lamar's over there in his big coat. He's like this, and you can see he's shell shocked. Flacco is just smiling, giving him encouragement, because Joe Flacco knew, I ain't going in this game. Man, it's all right by me. Hey, I know I'm somewhere else, and I ain't going to get the shit kicked out of me by going out on that field. Come on, Lamar. It'll be okay.
Shoot.
Come on, you can do it, buddy.
Joe Flacco probably is sitting there thinking, next year I'm going to be in Florida, either playing in Jacksonville or Tampa Bay. Weather's going to be nice. Right. I don't need this big-ass jacket.
Let the young guns take the hits.
Because Flacco has his ring. Flacco's got his ring. And so he's like, man,
Drew?
No. Hey, Lamar.
You know what else he's got?
Up, brother.
What else has he got?
The other thing he's got is a contract. And I guarantee you he got a big fat check for sitting on his dead ass on the bench.
Hey, everybody coming out of Delaware gets a business degree, So, hey, come on. Got to give him credit.
Let's look ahead, and Tony started on it, and that's Chargers better find a way to kick a team when they're out, because next week they're going at the Patriots, where I have Patriots favored by 4.5. And one guy that is never done until it's over is old Tom Brady. Interestingly to me on this game, the Patriots are 8-0 at home so far this year, and the Chargers are, they're 12-4 on the road, really, because they don't even have it home. But technically, they're technically they're 8-0 on the road. So you got two teams that are one undefeated on the road and one that's undefeated at home. I think you get a battle of two. So LJ, what do you think? This is the game that excites me the most. You got two future Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Who are you picking?
I mean, I think I'm picking the Chargers in this one, because I think the Patriots are not what they've been at the end of this year. I think this is another example of a great record, but I think generally not quite what their record is. This has been a theme for me. The
Patriots get to play the AFC East. I mean,
and they hadn't looked great. They didn't even win out, and they lost to Pittsburgh and Dolphins at the end of the season, and pulled it out against the Bills, so I guess that's pretty good. But
they did finish beating the Bills and someone else crappy, the Jets. I think they beat the Bills and Jets to finish the year.
Yeah.
And now Patriots fans are like, we're back.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that team's not what they were 2 years ago. I just think that I would like to see the Patriots lose too, so there might be some bias in me, but that's where I stand.
What do you think, Pops? You with that or?
This is a tough call, but I'm going to go with my guy Phillip Rivers, and I'm going to go with LA. Yeah, the Chargers. I think they have got a better. When you go, it's not about the X's and O's. It's about the the Jacks and the Joes
Bosa's.
Or whatever.
Oh, you mean Joey Bosa?
I'm saying the Chargers have better athletes. They have better athletes.
Well, did I see Hunter Henry? Did he come back or is he coming back?
He's supposed to play next week. He's supposed to play next week.
So
that's big.
If New England wins, it'll be because Belichick did his magic and he outcoached. Is it Vance?
Vance Joseph doesn't have a job anymore.
Anthony Lynn. Yeah, Anthony Lynn. That's right. Anthony Lynn. Well, and Anthony Lynn, who kind of came up with, that crazy 7 defensive back defense against Dixon and that other guy and Lamar. The guys that can really run the ball, and you've got smaller guys out there. That was pretty. That was
Belichick-like to do something like that.
Exactly, to try something like that. So I'm taking the Chargers, and it should be a great game.
Are you sticking with it, Uncle Tony? Are you taking Phil Rivers, or you got the GOAT?
Oh, man.
Mr. Brady.
Well, I do want to –
it's a tough one.
Lifford is absolutely correct. This is the first time that I can remember up and down the field that the New England Patriots do not have better athletes than the team that they're playing against. Other than at tight end. Even with Hunter,
are we sure?
Mate,
yeah,
are you sure?
Gronk's basically had 5 weeks off. He's gonna be fine. He can play twice every 5 weeks. If you
the whole season,
if you look at the schedule, 2 games in a row.
I hadn't noticed him since week 1 against Miami.
He's got 5 weeks off, and then he'll have a couple good games, and he's got another 5 weeks off. I predict Gronk's going to have a hell of a game coming up.
You think he's Tim Duncaning over there?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that is a great analogy. I think. Yeah, let me keep me out these 2 games and put me in 18 and 15. So I think that I do. I think this is a case where I think the better team loses. I think that when it comes down, what I said about the Chargers earlier, they just, for some reason, can't keep a lead. And if you don't do that on this, especially this road game against this team with this set of coaches, I'm not a Josh McDaniels fan, but you give Belichick 2 weeks to get ready for anybody, he's going to beat your ass. And so I think he was game planning for the Chargers this week or last week. He's got another plan in mind. I think the Patriots win this one by 2. If I'm on a betting man, I've got the Chargers on this one to cover, but the Patriots win this by a late field goal. I think maybe 34-31, something like that.
I think this game I'm really torn on. I'm super pumped to watch Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady go, and I think they both have a ton of respect for each other. And shoot, they had the last time they played in the playoffs was way back in I think it was like 2007 when Rivers tore his ACL and played throughout the game.
Anyway,
finished the game on it. So I think Phillip Rivers kind of licking his chops to get another chance at Tom Brady, who is the GOAT. But I do think y'all are onto something, Pops, where the athletes, and Tony, you said it, LJ said it, but they're between Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa, they're beast on the defensive end. And if Lamar Jackson couldn't get away from it, Brady's going to have a hard time. Now, Brady will make a lot quicker reads, as Dad pointed out. There's one thing Brady will do. He'll do the pre-snap read.
Yeah, he'll get rid of the ball.
And then I do think there's something to Gronk being a little more healthy this week. And you could see something. But Derwin James, that rookie safety, is an animal back there. And they drafted him to cover tight ends.
The Patriots can do so much on offense.
This is what he's brought to the NFL to do, is to guard the dynamic tight end, which will be Gronk. So this is Gronk's maybe last hurrah, because I think he's probably done, because the Patriots, clearly, they showed it last offseason. They're going to try to get rid of that contract because he's a shell himself. And I think he'd rather retire and go to the WWE before he plays a year anywhere other than Tom Brady's quarterback.
Here's your key player. Key player of this game is James White. I think James White is either going to score or get a very long draw play, 20, 25-yard touchdown run. I think it's going to make the difference late in the fourth. The Chargers are going to be over-aggressive on the edges, trying to get that sack, and James White's going to surprise them up the middle. So there's my call on that one.
I'm taking the Chargers in this game. I think the Patriots, and they've missed it a lot this year. They're missing that Danny Amendola because Edelman's not been quite that guy that just beats man coverage real quick off because Brady's got to do those quick reads, quick throws over the middle, and we'll see if he can.
I don't know if you've seen Edelman's. Hey, I had Edelman in fantasy football. He was one of my players. There it is.
It took a while, but we got a Tony. Even when fantasy's over, we still get to hear about his team.
He's really catching the ball well right now. I would disagree with that statement. He's more than Amendola was during this case. So he'll need to on Sunday. They need somebody deep. But anyway, we'll see.
So let's go to the last game of the week before we get out of here, and that is the Eagles and Bears. Eagles beat them 16-15 on the double doinker, as we mentioned earlier this week. Poor Cody Parker. Real quick, can I play y'all? I don't know if y'all have heard this, but here's the Spanish broadcast of Cody Parkey's kick.
Pie de Cody Parkey. 43 yardas. El snap. Le mete el pie. Distancia, dirección. Le dio el poste. ¡No! ¡Falló! ¡Oh! ¡No, señor! ¡No, señor! ¡No, señor! ¡No, señor! ¡No, señor! ¡Los Eagles se van con la victoria!
Wait.
¡Papá! ¡No, señor! Chicago!
I mean, it's just great. I love it. And we kind of touched on it before, but Cody Parkey might be the most impressive kicker we've seen all year. The way that man LJ put it he sent it to us, but he hits the uprights more than anybody I've ever seen in my entire life.
So here's the craziest thing. He did a new off-season program to get himself ready. All year long, instead of kicking through uprights, he picked objects to kick at. So he would kick at a pole. This is serious. He would kick at a pole. No. He would kick at a frame. He kicked at objects. This guy hit.
Oh my God.
So he hit 6.
He did what he practiced
posts this year.
You play like you practice. You play like you practice.
You play like you practice. And I bet you he doesn't do that this offseason. But yeah, he practiced kicking at objects.
Well, he might not be employed this offseason.
He is the best fucking kicker in the world.
Should we allow points? I feel like you should get points for hitting the upright. If you can do that on purpose.
Australian rules, baby.
Let's give 6 points for hitting the upright.
Australian rules.
Well, yeah. In tennis, if you hit the line, it's in, right? In tennis and volleyball, line is in, isn't it?
Line is in. That's pretty good.
Line should be
I like that idea, though. Yeah, I bet you if you ask Miss McCluskey, she'll go for that. 6 points if you hit the upright.
He actually the ball got tipped. It wasn't just off his foot.
It did. Barely.
Well, and he hit the pole through a tip ball. Like that's maybe the most impressive thing I've ever heard. And also, like, could you imagine
3 poles?
Could you imagine him? He's sitting there thinking he just cost his team the game. And now he can say, well, it was somebody else's fault. Like, can you imagine how redeeming that feels to find out that
I didn't realize it had been tipped.
If the Bears are told that Hester is going to make a big play on special teams this week, then I think they would have been okay with it. But
yeah, Cody Parker, he stood up to the media and said he cost his team a win, and I felt bad for the guy. That has to be tough. And for a Chicago fan, like LJ, if you're watching that game down there in Chicago, I bet that had to be heartbreaking because not only he makes the first kick. I always feel bad when they ice him and they make the first one. I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Now the bad one's coming. But then that was the worst thing because it hit the upright and then you saw it hit the next upright. But from the angle, you weren't quite sure if it bounced back in or bounced out. Like you still like had a little bit of hope after it hit the upright that maybe, maybe it went in. That one was tough. But let's get into the game itself a little bit. And the legend that is Nick Foles in the playoffs. It just keeps on going.
MVP.
The game kind of reminded me the game kind of reminded me of earlier, and we talked about the previous two games where, again, I felt like Chicago didn't really let Mitch attack until late in the game. The one thing the Eagles couldn't do all year is cover a damn soul because every corner they have is on injured reserve. And then late in the fourth quarter, Chicago finally started throwing it deep to Allen Robinson. Yeah. And whoa, it was working. It looked good. And then Tariq Cohen got 4 touches. That's the one dynamic guy on Chicago's offense. Yeah. And he barely touched the ball.
Yeah.
That game just surprised me. I think Tony talked about how the better team might lose this week in the Patriots-Chargers. I think the better team lost last Sunday night.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, they really did.
Yeah, it is really strange. It's really strange to watch that game and see how Philadelphia came back because Chicago just flat made 2 big mistakes, letting Alshon Jeffrey get behind him for whatever reason. They decided not to cover the biggest receiver, not for them, but on the whole field. Nobody was bigger than Alshon Jeffrey, and they let him go.
Maybe
just
they thought he was back to playing.
He's waving his arms at Nick Foles. Hey, here I am. And then finally Golden Tate makes a play. So
finally, that trade's worth it. It took till the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So, but Kevin, the biggest thing is Trey Burton didn't play in that game. So
I think that did hurt him.
I think that was a big key because that's the guy, the Eagles linebacking core is not that deep. It's not that good. If he's in the game, I think they have some mid-range throws and something Trubisky can go to. And so I don't know if LJ has heard this rumor, but a buddy of mine that I play fantasy football with here in the Rock from Chicago.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Don't give him the ding for that.
So here's the rumor he heard because Trey Burton was not on the injured list all week long. So apparently Friday night, Trey and whoever his partner is, I don't know if he's married or single or got, but apparently there was
if he's got a good looking wife, you'd know it.
Yeah, that's right. So apparently there was a little accident in the bedroom and he pulled his groin.
Boy.
And
no, I have not heard that.
So he had to go in. He had to go into the trainer on Saturday and explain what happened because he hasn't been hurt all week. Right? He's not on any injury list. So he's got to go in and say, here's what happened. And apparently, little bedroom antics. I don't know if he was the one getting tied up or he was in a pretzel position. I don't know what happened. Pulled his groin, got out of the game. And so
now the Bears have had the weirdest stories this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if that, I don't know. I can't say that he pulled his groin doing a little extracurricular activities in the bedroom, but he did. He was not on the list all week. And then on Saturday morning, he said, is it tightened up? And then he had to go to the trainer. So I
didn't tighten up.
I believe it. No, I believe it. The Bears have had weird stories because you also have a comic book shop a sports card memorabilia shop breaking an injury for the Bears a few weeks ago. And then Cody Parkey taking a police escort to Soldier Field 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So I mean, the weird stories just keep piling on with this team.
So anyway, there's one for you.
Pops, what'd you think? Is the Nick Foles magic just you can't beat it? Is there some crazy juju going on there?
I don't know what to think with all that stuff they were talking about.
There's some crazy juju, all right.
I got some weird pictures in my mind.
Nick Foles sent the visitor over there.
Nick Foles. There's rumors about Nick Foles if we're talking about the bedroom.
Yeah, Nick Foles.
Are you serious?
You haven't heard his nickname? You haven't heard his nickname?
No.
Well, earmuffs for all the young ones out there, but the nickname is Big Dick Nick. That's what his nickname is around the locker room.
See, he hangs around with Eric Big Dick Decker.
Okay.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Anyway,
Trent Richardson.
I was disappointed that the double doink happened because Chicago was clearly the
also
better
Nick
team.
Foles' nickname.
Pops can't even finish. He can't even finish his thought.
That was way better than the Flacco joke from the other day.
It's a close one.
That's what we call hitting the floor and the ceiling at the same time.
Okay. Sorry, Dad. What were you saying?
Well, I'm disappointed that I won't get to see Chicago play New Orleans. That would have been that would have been a hell of a game.
Yeah,
agreed. So. Yeah, I would like to have seen that.
Can we talk real quick about the weird ruling on Anthony Miller's complete catch fumble, but now it's not a catch because it's a fumble, screwed up.
And that was
the weirdest thing. And then you have the rule expert come on. It was hilarious. Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth asked the rules expert. So are they just making this up? And he goes, yeah, I think so. It sounds like they are. And then apparently – if you look, I have the little screenshot. I can send it to you. Someone put it on Twitter, but the rule is if there's no video evidence of a clear recovery or the ball going out of bounds, the ruling of incomplete stands, even if it was a catch.
Yeah.
So the interpretation of it's like thing A happened, but because thing C never happened, thing A actually didn't happen. So I guess that's the way it works. The lesson is, and I don't know why people need to learn this again, but always, always, always pick up the ball. And why do the refs keep blowing the whistle early? Let the play happen and then go review it. I don't know why they keep doing this. It's just ridiculous.
There was a good example of a referee not blowing a whistle early. And was it the Baltimore touchdown?
Well, there was one where they blew it too early where Melvin Gordon fumbled and the guy picked up and ran it for a touchdown.
Yeah.
But it ended up being the right call. But if it would have been the wrong call and he wasn't down, they would have had an inadvertent whistle and it would have been no touchdown for Baltimore, which would have been screwy. I just don't understand why these refs don't. You can always go back and review it and change it to down, but once they blow that whistle, LJ knows all about the inadvertent whistle back in the day with the Chargers Broncos. That the play is dead right then. Why not just let it play and then go review it? We've had tons of reasons to learn that, but they still.
Yep.
And you say no one on the Eagles, or there was no clear recovery for that ball where Anthony Miller dropped it. Well, that's because the ref instantly ran over it and started blowing his hands and stood over the football. So yeah, no one picked it up.
That's exactly what did it. The ref was running to stop the play, and when he ran over the football, everybody just thought it was dead. I mean, that ref, I don't think he meant to, but that's why nobody went and picked up the football, because he blew it dead and ran across the football. It was a weird deal. But I think they handled it the only way they could handle it.
Yeah, it just is weird. It's weird hearing him saying, yeah, it was a catch, but since no one recovered the fumble, we are going to roll it an incomplete, even though it was a catch. It just is wild. But so – the biggest line of the weekend, our last game, Eagles Saints, and this is the nightcapper on Sunday night this week. Saints are favored by 9 was the last one I've seen. That might have moved a little bit. Tony, what do you think? Is that line too big? Or
yes,
that's a big number.
Are you counting out Big Dick Nick?
Absolutely not. I think, and now we'd like to welcome our newest sponsor, Subway, where you still have that $5 footlong.
Good Lord.
Anyway, I should have segued that better. No, I think
keep that in, Hannah.
I had a
that might have gotten cut. Not for that follow up.
If I had some tickets. So no, I think the Eagles can stay with the Saints. However, because the Saints right now are playing that conservative type of playoff football. I think you saw that the last couple of weeks for them. They're going to try to pound the ball against Philadelphia, which you should, to try to establish it, but they have got to hit their spots. And one thing that Drew Brees and Michael Thomas can do is they can find holes in a zone defense. And I think Michael Thomas will have a huge game against the Eagles. If Allen Robinson can get 143 yards, Michael Thomas ought to get 675. So
I hope he has his cell phone ready on the goalpost because he's going to be in the end zone.
Joe Horn's already been beat out, but I think maybe Joe Horn has a couple of playoff records he can get for him. But I think that I think the Saints do win this one, but the Eagles will be able to score on the Saints, and that's the one thing you don't realize: the Saints do have a vulnerable secondary. It has improved, but they do have a vulnerable secondary, and the Eagles have no run game. They have Darren Sproles, I think they put a Dora the Explorer backpack on Darren Sproles and see if he can score a couple of times. And that's it. Otherwise, I think it's the Alshon Jeffrey, Michael Thomas show. And I think the Saints win this one probably something like a 30-something to 20 28, 34, 28,
well,
something like that.
And
34,
the last time these two teams played, it was in the Superdome, and the Saints beat them 48-7. Now that was when the schmuck Carson Wentz was playing quarterback, not Mr. Nick Foles himself. But LJ, what do you think? You think the Saints can cover that big 9?
Well, I think this is the first one that I think that the better team is the one with the bigger record. But I definitely 9 is too big of a number. I don't think I take that 9. I think that that definitely the Saints win.
Are you saying bigger is better? Is that what you're saying?
Oh Lord!
I'm saying
what do you think?
In this particular case,
yeah,
we know 3 games. It's the motion of the ocean, but in this one, the size of the shit matters.
I know you're a big Drew Brees fan.
But anyway, go ahead.
Good Lord,
Kevin says.
I'm trying. Dad, I know you're a big Drew Brees guy, and we all hoping to see a little Phillip Rivers Chargers and Brees Saints matchup. So what do you think? Do you think the Eagles pull this one out? Maybe the magic continues, or the Saints just roll?
No, the magic is over. You've got Kamara, and I know that he didn't do a shitting thing the last few games of the regular season because they were saving him up for this. He was on my fantasy team, and he did nothing. And Kamara is arguably is in the top 3 weapons in the backfield in the NFL right now, and he's healthy and he's ready to go. You've got Drew Brees, who is a quarterback that is I think I didn't come up with this, but he's a problem solver. He can figure some things out. If you get in a bind, Drew Brees is that guy that can take you home. And they've got a pretty decent defense. And then who's the receiver y'all just mentioned that's going to get 600? Michael Thomas. I mean, there's no way the Saints don't win this game, in my opinion. And if I have, it's a big number, but if I had to choose, I'd take the Saints, and I'd give you the 9.
Yeah, I think I'm with you.
I'd give you the 9.
16 points was enough to beat Mitch Trubisky and the Bears, but it ain't going to beat Sean Payton and Drew Brees. I mean, you better score some points to beat that group.
Yeah.
The Dome is going to be rocking.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you remember last year, Philadelphia played Atlanta in the divisional round with pretty much they were the number 1 seed, but Nick Foles and company, you know what that score was? 15-10. Atlanta had scored 40-something points the week before. It was 15-10. Wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens with New Orleans being on top on that one, but it would be really strange. The one person really, in all honesty, Michael Thomas not going to get 675 yards, but I think the key here is actually
what?
Ted Ginn Jr. I think is healthy now for the Saints and is back as that number 2 wideout, and so I think he's probably going to make a big play, and is probably going to either be the backbreaker or could be that big play to get New Orleans there.
He's going to drop a sure catch, or he is going to make an he'll make an incredible catch. Ted Ginn will do something.
He'll do something.
Nuts.
He was missing for the first 6-8 weeks or 10 weeks of the season. So I'm interested to see what he does.
So real quick, we're going to do a little lightning round where we each get 2 teams, and we'll do it in a draft, a snake order. LJ, I believe you've got the order for us, right?
I do. I've come up with the number. I've given us each a grade over the bye and the playoffs. Okay. I graded on a curve because it was necessary. This was a really weak class.
Can't argue that.
Hey, so I got my degree.
Does the lowest score pick first, or does the highest score pick first? If it's like a draft, the worst finisher.
Well, are you assuming that you're down there at the bottom? Right? I don't want Tony to pick first.
There's a good chance.
I don't want to pick first. If I'm last, I want to pick last.
Well, let me tell you how the score is made. Cool. I took an impressiveness score, which is combining how bold your playoff picks were versus how accurate they were.
Okay, so I want the last place to get to pick first.
So that was rough for Pops for sure. And then for the buys, I took a percentage of good buys and then subtracted or added the amount of growth you put on your team and took a grade on that. So the final grades for this semester are Kevin's got a 90. He's got an A-. I've got an 87.
Woo!
Tony's got a 76, and Pops is rocking that Arkansas C as a 71.
So I picked first.
So how are we doing, LJ? You just tell us how you graded it. So how does the order go for the draft? Does it go?
Well, you won. You won the season. So Kevin gets to go first. I think that's the way it goes.
I guess the way it goes too.
Well,
yeah.
It'll be easy. I'll go first, and I'm taking the Drew Brees and the Saints. I think it's a no-brainer in the Superdome.
Right.
So LJ, on to you.
Let me take.
And this is teams you think are most likely to win the Super Bowl. So
yeah,
right, yeah.
2 teams to win.
I'm gonna take the Chargers.
All right, those are probably the top 2 I would put on my board. Now, Uncle Tony, what you got?
Saints.
All right.
The Saints have already been taken. You can't take the team already taken.
They've already been drafted, Meisenheimer. Jeez.
I only did that.
We're getting a little late. There's a couple vodkas in Tony.
Sorry, no. I did that so I could hear Meisenheimer. You got to have a Meisenheimer out there. Everybody's got one. So I just wanted to hear it. That was it. Oh, I'm sorry.
So Saints and Chargers are off the board there, Uncle Tone.
Patriots.
Okay.
Patriots, old Tom Brady. And rounding out the caboose, what do you got, Pops? You get back-to-back picks here.
Do I get back-to-back?
Yes, sir. Snaking it.
Snake, baby. Snake draft.
Being on the bottom's all right.
I'm taking Kansas City and Indianapolis.
Okay. Winner of that game.
So you're taking the winner of that game. All right.
I like that choice.
No. Yeah, let's see.
Well, basically, you're picking those.
I like that.
Yeah, you're getting those.
That's right. You're right. You're right.
All right. Tony, you're next.
Back up to Uncle Tony.
Man,
KC and Indy are off the board, by the way.
I played Dr. Lift like a fiddle. I get the first choice. I really had the LA Rams.
You must not realize they got to go up against the Dak
Dallas
Prescott
Cowboys
and Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
All right, El, who you got?
Well, with the 7th pick in this draft, I'm going to go directly in competition with Tony again. So we're going to be at odds with each other in both games this week. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys.
All right.
Damn it. So I got the damn Eagles. At least I got
Big Dick. I was going to say. $5.
I was really hoping you not wanting the Cowboys to win, you would take someone else. But isn't it crazy, LJ? So earlier this year, we were thinking that I think one of your playoffs where you were hoping you could just take the whole NFC East, and now we could theoretically. We could have 2 NFC East teams in the NFC Championship. That would blow my mind. I would not have guessed that in 100 years.
I don't think we can say NFC least anymore. You just can't say it.
I don't know.
Not with Jason Garrett and Dak Prescott and how that Cowboys team's looking, baby.
It's a brain trust.
This mustache needs to keep going. I need to get that thick one, so I'm hoping.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the team. It's Kevin's facial hair.
Yeah, the NFC East is 2-0. The proof's in the pudding.
Well, we'll see when they go up against the.
Yeah, let's try the pudding after next week.
Let's see when the 1 and 2 seeds show up.
Yeah. You know. Anyway.
Yep. So I'm all AFC, aren't I?
Yep.
Okay. I think the AFC's got the stronger teams, except for New Orleans.
Of course, you're all FC. You picked one game. You picked both teams in one game. You can't have an.
But no, they don't play this week, right?
Yeah, they do, big dog. We just talked about it.
I was looking at the wrong list. I was okay.
What are you drinking, Lip?
I wonder how you ended up with that C-.
Lip.
Yeah, you could have gone all AFC with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Patriots, but you went.
Well,
the teams played each other.
I had them ranked over here the way I liked them, but I didn't.
See what happened was
Vaga.
I'm just impressed that the Saints got picked number 1 and number 3. That was pretty
hold
cool.
on. But for those of you who never get to go to a Razorback fantasy football draft, what you just heard was exactly how lists draft go when we do fantasy football. Wait, that's not what I had on here. I didn't mean to take him. I meant he was on I liked him, but I didn't mean to take him. That's
shut up, Meisenheimer.
All righty, well, let's put a bow on we went a little extra long for you, but it's a big week. We've been gone for a while, so we wanted to give you a little extra. So we'll be back to talk about some of the other stuff. Make sure if you're going out, if for whatever reason you're getting some tickets to a football game or even a Broadway show, Hamilton, or you want to go see some whatever Tony said, I forget who
Michael
he said.
Bublé?
But, hit up TickSplits, ticksplits.com, the TIXBLITZ.com, promo code armchair, and hell, go put some money down. Jump on MyBookie, put the promo code JPP. We just told you the lines. Yeah. Just go win it, baby. Go win you some dollars.
I looked up, by the way, on TickSplits, Michael Bublé in Dallas is about $175. So if you're looking, Dad, woo! That's all it's going to cost you.
I'm seriously not hating on him. It's just not my thing. It's just
instant panty drop.
Okay, and that'll do it for this week. We will catch you back next week on the JPP. Peace out.
Hey, Tony, I got a question because you talked about walking. I went and walked this morning, and so I walked, and then I came home, and I put on a shirt that was heavy starch. I'm talking really heavy starch. And about noon, my nipples were so damn sore. Hey, I had to come home and change shirts. I had to change shirts at lunch.
You look like Andy Bernard from the office.
I was walking out of the office with holding like this right here. So much. We
need to chip in for a year's worth of pasties.
I tell you what. Now, gentlemen, I hate to say this, but that is not the first story I've heard Liver tell me about his nipples. So, as soon as he said it, I knew exactly where he was going. Because there's a time when we were golfing, I think, and he had sweated and it